Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Monday. And of course, we have the awesome Beverli Rhodes waiting for us with some more awesome intel. We're going to be talking about the different Mandelas, actually. We're going to be talking about that, as well as doing some fun things. Lots of fun things on the show tonight as well. It's always nice just to include some lightheartedness with these heavy topics as well. But before I bring her on, one or two announcements. Okay, for those of you who caught my live show with Juliet last week, you know that we cut it short. So what we're going to be doing tomorrow at 2 o'clock, South African time, Central African time, at 6 o'clock now, 4 hours earlier. Check the schedule. It is on there, though. We're going to be, we're going to be premiering that interview. So that is coming on tomorrow. And I know. I'm very happy to I've had thousands of requests for that. So very happy that Juliet's agreed to air that show. Yeah. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, we've got Jessie, Double Trouble Jessie. We're going to be doing a deep dive on the Kardashians. Interesting. So not just about the fashionista senses, but of course, all the lingo and the talk and all of that and the clothing. And yeah, we know they're a well-known family embedded into the occult. So let's see what Jessie comes up with there. That should be interesting. That's Wednesday. Thursday, Dr. Dennis again. Friday, Joanne. We're doing the last show on Rumble, the untold story of Adolf Hitler. Guys, super, super interesting. Wow. I hope you all are watching that. If not the show where we're doing the commentary, but then at least maybe watching the documentary. Super interesting indeed. And then, of course, Friday night again, we have Leo Zagami. Chantelle all in their winter clothes. Guys, do you know how cold it is here? It's the coldest winter in 7 years. Grandma here is getting cold. But anyway, I'm warm tonight and even warmer because, ta-da!
Guess who?
There she is.
It's me. There she is.
Hello, Beverly.
Hi, hello.
It's so good to see you, babe. Really. And how is the UK? What's happening there? UK gallivanting soon.
It's absolutely short sleeves, so it's nice and warm. We have had unbelievably hot weather. We've had like these amazing days, balmy nights, which we never have. And we've actually been able to sleep with the windows open, which is unheard of. But yes, I am going to America very soon on Monday, the 28th. So that means that you and I, our Monday date, we're not going to be able to have it because we'll have to have it the day after. Because I'll be.
You got a Tuesday date next week.
Tuesday date because I'll be in the sky. But I think, it should be lots of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Got lots of unusual things that we're going to be doing, including filming on Driftwood Beach, which will be fantastic. So I've got
do you want to share? Do you want to share with your viewers where you're going to be if you're going to be doing? I'm not sure if you are, though, because we have quite a number of viewers in the US.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, already they're asking, where in the US? They're going to meet you before. That's mortifying.
Oh, I'm going to be the one that I'm the most. There's two things. There is an amazing burial mound an Indian burial mound that I want to look at, but I'm not sure it's quite far away. But the area that I'm most interested in is there's a very unusual beach that seems to have all these driftwood, trees and all sorts of things. And either it's the current or it's like, do you remember there used to be that old thing in South Africa where they used to say that there's a burial ground that the elephants go to take their last breath and to meet the elephant ancestors. So that was always called, the ancient graves of the elephants. Well, this beach has a very similar energy to the elephant's burial ground. So I'm going to be going there. I want to do maybe a two-part series. Have a look at what's on the beach, but more importantly, look out to see what's out there, see what the energy is, but then look inland, and go and see what's on the beach as well from the seaside. and then walk forward, because I think that the energetics for that being pushed into the beach area, that's going to be something very interesting from the green man point of view, from the elemental point of view. And then what is it that happens? Why is it that these amazing, and it's not just little tiny driftwood. No. Look up Driftwood Beach. They are moersegroot, these huge trees, whole trees. So I'm very excited about that. Very excited. And of course, Atlanta, Georgia.
Moersegroot is very big. We just have to translate from moersegroot is something you can never actually translate it, but it's Afrikaans slang for very big. Yeah. Very big, bloody big, yeah. Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then I'm doing the Georgia standing stones, which as you know, were the stones, they were in place for like over 20 years. And they were saying, that they were like almost like the new fake 10 Commandments. And then somebody went and put a rocket under one of them. So they were a bit wobbly. So I think the authorities said they have to take it down. So what they did is, even though one section went down, the rest of it had to be taken down for health and safety reasons. So I've been in contact with the mayor of that area and some of the other newspapers, because they covered the story extensively. And there's a lot of history there. But I want to actually see, because I'm energetics, I'm talking about the energetics of the area. I want to understand what is the energy now, because that energy has changed. And then do some filming in that area too. And we were very lucky. There was a sponsor that provided travel and subsistence. And she sent that through from Bahrain for us. And she has a great interest in all these things, all things spiritual, all things unusual, and more importantly, energy. So you know who you are. Thank you very much for sending through all of the travel costs and everything that's necessary to make this filming possible.
It's so beautiful that people in the world are out there, who are generous and offering that type of opportunity for people like yourself, who really have what it takes to actually see what's going on there. Interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the Georgia Guidestones.
Yes.
I would love to know your take, because of course, up until sometime, maybe I think it was 20 or 21, when they got blown up or burnt or whatever happened to them, there was a big furore about that, because then of course at the time there was the rumor, who was the guy that was married to Jane Fonda, Ted someone, the big media magnate, that he actually had them. Yes, he had them installed, and they really were just the 10 Commandments of the New World Order type thing.
Yeah.
So I would love to know your take on.
I thought it was a doctor, actually. I thought it was a doctor that paid for all of that. That was the front man that paid for all these different things and that. So when I get there, I'm certainly going to do a lot of scratching around. The other thing I want to look at too, because I did pick up when I started looking at all the pictures of it, because I was very lucky, the press people there that have got all sorts of lovely photos, and they've got their own views, and they're quite happy to share the views. I don't know how many of them would agree to come on camera, quite frankly. But that's fine. If they're happy for me to share what they've said to me, that's okay. But they also said, that they, on the top of the stones, there's that plateau on the top, they found, blood and offerings and things like that. So I thought, that's going to change the energy, that's for sure. So I'm going to be looking at that too, to see, well, what has actually been happening, and why was it shut down to that degree, and why specifically at that time? Because it was just one car that was seen, came up to the stones. The person obviously got out, did whatever is necessary, got in his car, and then raced off. And then as he races off, in the CCTV footage, you just see the whole thing go up, and thought, that was obviously him. And I just want to ask the question: do they know who the driver was? Do they know? Have they traced the car? What's actually happening? Because there's not much available about that. But I'm more interested in the energy, actually. And that's what I'm going to be going to have a look at, because I think there's a good mix there. I think you're on mute.
Muted myself again. Well, that would be very interesting to maybe do a show when you get back on what you picked up there, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's
that'll be super interesting.
It's going to be great. And if I have enough courage, that's sometimes debatable. If I have enough courage, I might even consider, and if we have sponsors, of course, then I might even consider going to New Orleans. But then I'm a bit worried that I'll run into one or two of the young vamps that I was looking after when I was much younger. Shame. How disappointed will they be?
Okay, you're going to have to... I understand there's certain things you can't talk about. And just to be clear, guys, for those of you who haven't watched Beverly's shows earlier, from South Africa at the end of 99, she had a 25-year indictment that she couldn't talk, and it's just been lifted. So, and now she can only really talk about people that have passed on, no longer on the earth plane. So, okay, when you talk about two young vamps that, okay, please just explain that just a little bit more clearly.
I will explain. So when we were doing the work that we were doing, when my handler was being able to look after things before he ended up, coming out to South Africa and doing and setting basically the structure up and making sure that everybody was able to fit into their little cubby holes and do their jobs. Before that, when I was younger, much younger, one of my jobs was to sit in the bay window and go and sit there and play with the dollies and make it look like it's just a normal house. But actually inside the house was completely dark, no light at all. There's a little bit of running water, but not much, just enough to make a cup of tea, but that was it. And this was a safe house where individuals used to come that wanted to become vampires. So I know a lot of people will say, oh my goodness me, things like that doesn't happen, but actually it does. So part of that whole ritual is to do the rituals to get the person to the point where over a period of a year, that person then changes their blood structure and their blood work through it's a bit like a virus. It's a bit like something that goes into the blood and stays in the blood, but it takes about a year before everything changes. So this Holly weird saying, oh, 3 days time, you're going to get your fangs and you're going to, no, monks, no, that's not happening. That's not how it works. It takes a year, sometimes even longer. And during that period of time, these individuals that have decided, they decide free will. Can you believe it? You actually have free will to be able to decide that you are going to live your life like that. Well, good luck with that. But they do. And then, so I was on the windowsill playing outside and making it look like the smell and everything else didn't actually, and just even thinking about it just goes up my nose like, oh, it's like, well, it's almost like if you had to walk into an abattoir that hadn't been cleaned for like 2 months or maybe more. That's just, and then of course you also get the flies, because the flies are up the windows. Just, they're my worst. And so we used to have to go take those that were going to be feeders, those that used to get bitten on the necks. And these women, you won't believe this, but these women used to give of themselves absolutely freely. And they used to come in the back of the car and sit there and wait for us to get out. And then I'd have to make sure that it looked like a normal household, because they'd see a child playing at the window every now and again. And basically my job was to watch. So I had to watch who was in the street, who was coming across the street, who was on the other side of the road, and if anybody was coming across or approaching the gate, because the front gate was in the front, and then watch, and then I would raise the alarm. Luckily, nobody ever bothered with the house. I mean, they just thought it was, a whole bunch of blokes that lived there, and that was it. But this is what was going on in the house. So he would take me to keep a lookout with my little sandwich box, and we would then go into the kitchen, walk past these chaps that are painfully thin, white as a spook, and getting ready to have their feed with these young ladies. The ladies just would get bitten once, and then they wouldn't be allowed to be bitten again for about another 6 months. So that it's very controlled, very, very controlled. These people are very powerful. They're very, very powerful. And what they do is they're able then to use these individuals if, and that's a big if they're able to transition properly, they can then be utilized in big business. They can be utilized in the background of big business, and they could then do something similar to the situation that my handler had done in South Africa, but in another country. But it takes a long time, and they have to be fed regularly, obviously. So we were just one lot of people that used to feed. There would be somebody else and somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. So they would make sure eventually, after 1 full year or maybe a bit longer, that those people were able to assimilate drinking blood. And it takes a long time. And a lot of them never made it because for whatever reasons, either they had a weakness, or there was a problem, or they weren't being fed properly, or they couldn't feed properly, all sorts of reasons. So there's very few. And then eventually, once you got to that point, because they would come in, these women would then, they would lick their neck, which had like an analgesic, antibiotic, and also like it would numb it, like an anesthetic. So when they did the whole fangs thing, you wouldn't necessarily, the women would be all glassy-eyed, and I would then be ushered into the kitchen through the door, and then I'd be told, there you go, there's your tea, have your tea and your sandwich, and just wait, I'll come and get you. Just stay there, and then just stay there, don't peep, just go and have your tea and your biscuits and your sandwich, and then I'll come and get you when we're ready to go. And that was pretty much it. But occasionally the swinging door would swing, and I'd be, a typical nosy child. I mean, really, very, lots of questions, always asking why, what's the reason for that, what for, really, really just one of these kids that would get on your nerves. That was me, trust me. I'd bite somebody's bottom and ask until they say, will you please shut up now? That sort of thing. I'm that child. If you see a child that's really irritating the hell out of their parents, yeah, that was me. Yeah. Why? And you as well.
Totally.
You as well. Totally. Why? Yeah, no, you just have to, ask. Shut up. Yeah, that's me. So
no, I would ask that, and then I would argue as well. So not only would I ask, I wouldn't accept what they were telling me, I would still argue with them about it as well.
Oh Lord. So then you're actually one step up from me. Because I would get to a point where I knew, Beverly, shut up now. You are going to get a backhander. And I got many backhanders, and I eventually I would push until you could see there comes the hand. But yeah, you think, oh, okay, maybe I asked a bit too many questions. But yeah, that's what used to happen. So they would do the bitey thing and drink what they needed to drink, and then the handler would just organize everything and make sure. He was very good at all the yucky things. He was excellent at, he knew where the vamps were, he knew where the Lycan were, he knew where all those things were. So that's why he rose so high up in the echelons of the worshipping types of groups and the Freemasons. He's very, very well known.
I'm absolutely morbidly fascinated by what you're telling me. It's unbelievable. Just when you think you've heard it all, here comes,
and then here it comes.
Yeah, the next inconvenient truth.
There we go again.
Inconvenient truth.
Yeah, it is very inconvenient, and that's why it's on Aquarius Rising Africa, because this is the channel that brings these such things. But yeah, but there's lots of people that know about this. There's people that are speaking. It's not just me speaking out about it. There's loads of people speaking out about it. You know, if you get this, some channels that have ex-Satan worshippers and ex-Luciferians and Mormons and things, they all know. They all take care of them. They all know about them. They all know about where they land, how they're shipped in. It's like an open secret in a way. So what I'm saying is not a secret. It's very, very well known. That's why I'm a bit worried about going. That's why I'm a bit worried about going to New Orleans. Because I'm not going to sleep. That's for sure. Because I don't want any one of them coming into my room and just, you know, no. Foxtrot Oscar. And no, because I know that when you do that work and you're looking after them, and he was looking after them, and I was helping to as a lookout and making sure that, you know, no one was going to, you know, approach the house, then you end up with this funny, like, from what I understand, there's like a seal or a mark, or there's something that you either smell different because you've been around that for such a long time, and it's almost like you're not an untouchable. How can I say it? It's like they're not going to attack you and they're not going to do anything to you because you're like a caregiver, or you're one of the carers that help them be able to change and to transmute into this other type of being, other type of part human being. It's a hybrid human being. And that's it. Because when you look at it, when you look back, the vampires, the true vampires, those that have transitioned, they actually all hark back DNA-wise to the first group of vampires that came here as off-worlders, and they had to survive, and this is what they did, and they created more of themselves, and this is how they did it. And they then got the Satan worshippers, Luciferians, Mormons, and a couple of others as well, particularly voodoo priests and things, got them involved and said, could you help us? We are stuck here. Could you help us to create more of our own people so that we can survive by looking after us during our worst time when we're transitioning, which is that 1 year to nearly 1.5, sometimes even 2 year period. Could you look after us? And that is the deal that was made centuries and centuries and centuries ago. That's what I was told. Whether that's factual, I don't know, but that's what I was told. Because when I started asking these endless questions, the whys and the what fors and who was it and when was it and how, and this is what I learned over the years. So I'm just sharing with you what I learned. But I do think this is common knowledge now.
Well, not for me. So I'm like a wide-eyed grade 0 child here right now, and I have questions, okay? So, so what you're saying is that these people who transition to becoming vampires, it's a free will thing. It's their choice. They actually say, I want to become a vampire. I want to have this virus injected into me. I want to
it's not injected.
drink someone's...
It's not injected. No. It's sucked out. Worse than... And no, it's not brought by a needle. It's brought by...
What do you mean it's sucked out?
The original carrier will make as an incision on the flesh, and the person that's the original infected individual will be the one that says, that will agree. Because remember that whoever it is that you are taking the virus from as your first aspect, you need to know that in a way that person is responsible for you, because the master, the one that makes the incision, the master is the one then that is creating the additional followers or people or folks. And it's really, really very hard, because humans are not meant to be able to consume and process human blood. They're not. It just doesn't happen. It makes you very, very sick. And that's why it takes you not 3 days like on Hollywood. It takes you over a year and a bit. And if you had some form of dread disease, it can't work on you. So what will happen is, unfortunately, you will get very, very sick, and you'll probably end up expiring. So when that cut happens, and the cut happens on the person, and they either put, your part of your wrist onto it so that it's a wrist-to-wrist blood exchange to start that multiplication in the system. It's either that, or they have an opportunity to dislodge one of their teeth and allow themselves to drink or lick from that, or suck out some of the life force from the individual that's already infected. And because you have, when you have a tooth that's loose or you have a tooth that's dislodged, that becomes an open area. So whatever's happening is going into that cavity. So there's a number of ways of doing it, but it's never done through a needle.
So somebody, a human being, can decide they want to become a vampire. He doesn't have to be from the lineage, and just suck the blood of someone who already has the virus. And then he, over a year or a year and a half, somewhere around there, slowly transitions. So do they, and once, how often do they need to be fed blood?
It's either once every 2 weeks, if they're newbies, because they can't really take that much on. So it's once every 2 weeks, and then you'll find that the next crew will go and feed them every 3 weeks. And then once they start getting a bit better and they're able to assimilate it a lot easier, the human force is then once a month, but they will drop off other types of food sources. So that will be small animals of some sort, which is not ideal, but that keeps them going in the meantime. But these women,
they all stay together. So they all the vampires stay together, like in a big hostel or hotel type thing.
It's not a hostel. It's just a house. The house that we looked after just had the three of them.
One.
They had the three, and then they had upstairs as well. But they had the 3 bedrooms, and all the 3 bedrooms. I never went upstairs anyway. I was only ever allowed downstairs, walk through the lounge to the kitchen, back through the lounge to sit in the front room, which is right at the front, to show, where I could watch what was happening in the road, and that was it. And what was happening behind me, I mean, you could hear things, and they used to get quite rowdy sometimes. But my handler was like 6'7" and equally as broad, and he was never going to take any nonsense from anyone. Doesn't matter what they are, whether they're Lycan or whether they're vamp, doesn't matter. He was human or demon. Didn't matter either to him. He was able to control pretty much all that. He was, like they say, almost like a mage in a way. So it's one of those types of people.
And what about so the Lycans are more like the werewolves, right?
Yeah, the Lycans are protectors of a few things.
Yeah.
They protect all the ceremonies. They protect the Satan, particularly the Satan ceremonies where there's ritualistic sacrifice, and they also protect the Luciferians as well. And naturally, even though the vamps and the Lycan don't always like each other, they will still protect each other.
Interesting question here. Does their consciousness change? Consciousness, yeah. I would imagine, just like their physical being changes. Do they actually grow fangs?
They do eventually, from what I remember seeing. I do remember seeing that some of them do end up with a facility to be able to get sharpened teeth and be able to get the blood out. Alternatively, the other thing that they do is they grow their nails, like these two, the strongest nails on your dominant hand. They'll grow these nails very long. Or they've got these metal clips. They've got like a clip that goes on. I do remember seeing them because I was playing with them because I thought they were very weird, and I was playing with them. So I was scratching on the wall with them and scratching on the window with them and asking, what are these? And being told to shut up. But yeah, they put these clips onto their fingers, and then they'll just push it in and open it. Makes it a lot easier to get to where they need to get to. But the saliva of these beings is both antibiotic, analgesic, and it basically will just put the whole side of the neck and all the way up. It'll just put everything to sleep. So they won't, whoever the person is that's offered themselves up, they won't actually feel anything. They don't feel anything at all. They don't get any pain or anything like that. They just end up falling asleep afterwards. And then you have to get them into the car and then take them back to where they were. And then they wake up feeling all joyous because, you know, they've seen something that nobody else has seen, put it that way. So the consciousness does change, yes. The consciousness does become more of a dark warrior, because as that life force changes, those original beings that were here have the ability to become more like them, which is less conscious, but also less of a conscience. So they don't always worry too much about things. You know, if you've got something that is not necessarily the right way of doing things, they're not particularly worried about that. It's because of where they come from. Gina Dean, ? Do the vampires die like normal humans? Yeah, they can die. Yeah, they do. They can die. It's some of them that have been around for a very long time. They're very careful, and they've got their sense of smell. If you can imagine a beautiful jaguar or a beautiful creature like a lion or a jaguar or something, their olfactory system and their nose and the way that they can smell way better than any lion or leopard. So they're very careful, and they can smell you out for miles away before you even get there. They know who you are, what sex you are, what blood type you are, you know, what your gender is. They will even be able to pinpoint. They'll even be able to pinpoint what you ate. There's certain things that they don't like cinnamon and these funny smells. And I remember that specifically because my handler had he'd had rice pudding that had nutmeg and cinnamon on the top, and you could see they were like, ooh. It was like a funny smell under their nose. They didn't like it. So it was quite funny, because I would go into the kitchen and you could hear them having a bit of a conflab.
The one okay, let me just read it to you. The one I was speaking of said he's changed to a vampire was gradual and eventually got fangs, and they would grow when the sexual arousal they feel before feeding happens. So I would imagine, yeah, there must be some type of a sexual sex magic type energy going on there. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think you know, the lure of rumpy pumpy, so that we don't get stuck with the sex thing. The rumpy pumpy thing, which is a very, very good English word for having a roll in the hay. But yeah, they did, and I think the women that went, they were always in the car and always being taken. They were women of a certain age where, you know, they knew exactly what they were doing. Again, free will. They made the decision that that's what they would do. They would twice a year, or maybe twice a year at the most. I don't think it'd be more than that. Twice a year they would go and volunteer. Could you believe it, being a volunteer like that? Volunteer to be able to, you know, to give of their life force to these people and get sexually aroused, and, you know, start thinking about rumpy pumpy and all those sort of things with the fangs. Yes, I do agree with that previous question.
Rumpy pumpy.
It's English word, you know. Come on. At least it's not rumpy pumpy. Sounds like Rumpelstiltskin. Same old. You know, same thing. Rumpy pumpy. You know, throw a Vienna down a passage. Same thing.
Okay. Can you go back to being exactly, so naughty. Can you go back to being a human when you have transitioned into a vampire?
No. No, you can't. Months, no. Unfortunately, no, you can't. You can transition. I mean, if you do pass away and you decide that, you know, what you did was wrong, and, you know, that you've lived this awful life, because you probably would have done all sorts of terrible things, because they are a bottom belly of mainstream criminality, and they do all sorts of, they have all sorts of nefarious things that they're involved with. But yeah, definitely you can say, I renounce this. I don't want to be part of this. And everybody that helped me to get to wherever I am, no. And you can ask for the final forgiveness before you leave and before you transition. Yes, you can. Your soul will be saved, but you can't, because it's your blood and your life force that has changed. It's changed completely. You are in a situation
it's not you
where
anymore.
you're not you, and also your skin is very different. It's like it's very paper-like, and it is it does have an unusual texture. It's very, very, very white. I mean, it's like almost iridescent see-through white. And they can't go into the sun because of the changes to their blood. That's the reason why, not because of the skin, but because of the way that their blood has changed.
So, according to what you understand or understood from that, what was the reason they would transition, not just for drinking blood? I would imagine there must be some power trip that's associated with that. So how would they get their money? Do they go into powerful positions? Do they look normal during the day and have to suck blood at night or anything like that? I mean, seriously, this is like fairy tale horror movies stuff to me. I mean, I remember this stuff from horror movies or comics and stuff. But so they actually live normal lives. They can look normal for a while. And then they have to feed they've got their...
Yeah, they do. The ones I saw, some of them look quite, the ones that were sick and that didn't make it, they didn't look too good for whatever reason. I know he said to me, the handler said to me, there was one of them, and I felt sorry for him because he was writhing in pain and he was really crying out. He was in such a state. And I said, what's wrong with him? Typical child. What's wrong with him? Usual. And he just said he's very sick. He's got a disease and he's very sick and he's just not going to be all right. So just walk past him. So I walked past him, do what you're told. But yeah, so he was, the next time we went back, he wasn't there again. So I think he'd exited for sure. He'd been extracted because he wasn't going to make it. But yeah, they do. They when they get right through to the end and they transition, they are very powerful beings. They have the ability to take an energy from their minds and utilize their minds with another person, because humans to them are quite weak because they are so different, and their makeup and the way that they are is so different. They do have an ability, and I think most people call it glimmering, but actually it's not glimmering. All it is just shutting down your energy system completely so that they can do whatever they like to. And also they have tremendous athletic ability, which is one of the things that I would worry about going to New Orleans with, because I know it would be able to smell me 5 blocks away. And I would just worry that this thing would be able to run and then pitch up in front of me and say, oh, it's you. Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks so very much for that. I don't know about that. So we'll have a think about that one, maybe back to the drawing board. But yeah, that's what they can do. And they do. They have very successful businesses. They leave their businesses back to themselves, and then they reinvent themselves over a period of time. So you will see the same sort of people, but then they will have a different look, a different outfit, a different time frame. But it's the same person. It's over centuries and centuries and centuries. The sad thing about them is they originally are all related back to the same group that got stuck here in the first place. And actually, all they want to do is get back to where they came from. So they really are marooned on a planet that can't stand them, that they've had to find a way to survive. And that was the story that I was fed by my handler, to say, you can't judge these. We are here to look after them. It's a decision and it's an agreement that was made, a contract that was made by our forefathers, by our ancestors. And unfortunately, you're part of this family. So therefore, this is all part of it. And interestingly, today, I got an email from somebody in America, from the Rhodes family, who had said, guess what? I think we're related. And I thought, oh, okay, that's an interesting one. And I went and had a look and I had a read. So yeah, I think we definitely will be having a very, very interesting discussion, because she also, although she's a clinician, she knows a lot of background about the family and stuff that I've never spoken about. There's stuff in that email. I thought, yep, I will speak to you for sure, because some of the things she's saying and the bloodlines and who's doing what, I thought, this person knows. So I'm going to have that discussion. So yeah, it looks like the Rhodes family have got here, there, and everywhere. And this is all due to your show.
Well, you see, that's why we do the show. Isn't that amazing? Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Now, the Lycans, I know they're protectors, the werewolves. What do you know about them? Have you had similar type dealings with them in your...
No, we never did any of the feeding rituals or anything like that. I think that was left to somebody else. The only time I ever saw something was we were going to one of the big events where they were going to do a transition, in other words, birthing a demon. So birthing the demon, and I know they had 2 of the Lycans were placed strategically to make sure that there was no nonsense. And I do remember thinking, that smells like a wet dog. Seriously, you know, when dogs get wet or you've bathed them or they've come in from outside and they're full of mud, it smelled like a wet dog. And it was very big. And I just remember going, oh my goodness, that's a big dog. And that's exactly the only thing that I could think of. It was a very big dog. But they were there. And then I think something happened further down the road, and one of them went off, and I thought, someone's thrown a stick maybe, or a ball. But yeah, it's gone down the road. So that's the only thing that I've seen them. I've seen them literally only once in my life. I haven't seen more of them. But I don't know what it did. I think it went after somebody, or maybe the perimeter had been broached or something. I don't know. But yeah, I was inside by that time, holding on, being held on. Yeah.
Wow. So what do you know about them? What do you know about the Lycans and their transition into...
I don't know. I think that I don't know much about their transition. I think that I know that they exist because I've seen them at that event where that, birthing the demon was happening. So to see 2 of them that were doing their job, because where you see a Lycan, you'll probably see a vampire somewhere as well. I didn't see any of them around, but then again, they're quite elusive. If you meet one, you'll certainly know you've met one, only because you won't remember it, and B, when you do remember it, it'll be too late. But yeah, that they were there. So the 2 always work together. You won't find one without the other. But I don't really know much. About, how they work, what they are, etc. I know there are a lot of them, not as many as the vampires are, and they're in short supply. So they're like the big bouncer security individuals of the lower realms.
Wow. That's absolutely insane to think. And I know, I must say, Jessie has spoken to us as well, also in the beginning, about the wolves. First, it was the wolves, who are the protectors, because as the mothers of darkness, the wolves were their protectors. Absolutely, and they're the protectors of the system. So they would obviously be... but I do believe it's also a similar type of a virus, right?
I think it must be. It must be. Yeah, I think it is. And there are Lycans in South Africa, and there's definitely vamps in South Africa, because the vamp area, particularly Cape Town, the Cape Town city bowl, in the bowl itself, definitely there's a lot of them in that area, because I know that when he went down to go work down in South Africa, and I said at the time, are we going? No, you'll go later. Then it was a case of, okay, we know that we've got this work to do and that work to do, and I want you to go here and I want you to go there. And he had all these people. I mean, he had a lot of people on staff, lots of staff doing all sorts of things. And I think that one or two of them were down in the City Bowl area, because he did eventually have some unusual, very clandestine. I'll tell you which hotel it was at, actually, because I remember this, because I was so surprised. I thought, oh my God, this is a beautiful place. And when you walk in, you feel like you're a princess of some sort. Anyway, it was the Nelson. At the Nelson Hotel.
Mount Nelson Hotel. I saw it. It's like when you said it, I saw the Mount Nelson. I mean, it was like, can only be a place like the Mount Nelson. Wow. Are you there? Guys, is it me or Beverly that's gone? Oh dear. So one of us is gone. I don't know who it is. My screen is frozen. Can you guys tell us who's gone? I think it might be Beverly. Okay, Beverly's frozen. Wow. Okay, well, I hope that she will, I'm sure she will, in fact, will tune back in again. But how absolutely crazy. I mean, for me, yeah, she is. Yeah, when I'm about to start waxing lyrical about how crazy it is, she's back. Hello, madame.
I wow. think they didn't like me saying anything, so they went, pah, off you go on your bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah,
the Mount Nelson.
Hotel. Yes, there, got it out finally. Yeah, toch. Yeah. So yes, we went in there and it was at night and it was already past 10 o'clock. So we went into there and he met them at reception and then went into, that small area on the side. And these were the two men that were there. And I thought, oh, okay. And I think one of them was the same one that was here in the UK and might have been one of his people's oppos, as he calls them. His oppos were sitting there and having a chat. And that was it. So, and of course, me as his little hanger-on boy, as he used to call me, boy, yeah, just watch. And that means that's my job. Yeah, go boy, just watch. Make sure that nobody comes up to us. Make sure nobody's watching. Make sure no one's listening. That's my job, a watcher. So yeah, he did. Mount Nelson. Just remember that now, Mount Nelson is a beautiful hotel, but all sorts of nefarious things. And it's been there for centuries, I believe. So
yeah, it's been there since forever. Next to Labia. Can you believe
that?
It
is. Yeah, hi Kevin. Good energies there. Yeah, it's mind blowing. So yeah, something to do with that area where you can sit in the lounge, sort of like the foyer come lounge area, but to the side. So they always used to make sure that there was a clean, line of sight, so that if I found something, I could raise the alarm and they could do whatever they needed to do. But yeah, he went and had a meeting. I don't know what he met about, no idea. But yeah, and I think also that he was at the time he had that Koisan breeding facility up in the mountains, and I think that was a particularly good bloodline, the Koisan bloodline. So I think that was part and parcel of whatever he was arranging and stuff, because he was very interested in not preserving the Koisan, but preserving them obviously for him as an asset and as a additional financial, income stream, is because they're very valuable, B, they're very rare, and C, they're very, very, very expensive as a people's. Oh, there's a restaurant in the City Bowl called Feast of the Beast. Yes, now you're talking. You see? Now everybody's starting to think outside the box. Yes, be afraid. There's one in London, and I know somebody that went there for a birthday dinner, and they were very worried about what actual food that they were being given, because the energy was so dense and so awful that they abandoned the meal and they left the meal, came out of London and said, my goodness me, what was that all about? It was horrible. and they didn't know what was being put in front of them. That's how worried they were about what type of food it was and what it was, as in what was it. So yeah, there's a lot of these Feast of the Beasts and others all over the place. Well done.
So what, according to your knowledge, do they eat at Feast of the Beast?
I don't know what they eat at Feast of the Beast, but Feast of the Beast is actually a particular type of feast anyway. If you have a look at all of the ritualistic feasts, it would be the feast of Baal, or one of the other types of, the dark deities. It would be, that's exactly what that is. So it's very cleverly, in plain sight, there it is, right in front of you. That's what they're calling it, so knock yourself out. Goodness only knows what they put in the food there. Who knows? It's probably fine, but I certainly wouldn't go eating any place.
But what's quite interesting about that? Anyone who's any South African, whether I'm not a great rugby fan watcher at all, but we all know in recent years, maybe, in the last 15 years especially, we've had a very good rugby player, South African rugby player, and his nickname is Beast. So he's huge, and every time he gets the ball on the field, you just hear the entire stadium go Beast. They go Beast. You just hear it. That name has become such an iconic name in our sport. So isn't that interesting, when you talk about Feast of the Beast, because you can imagine that so many people would put that there. Yeah, Beast, let's go and have a feast with Beast. Not even for 1 second thinking what, yeah.
And I must say, now that you're talking about, rugby, and you're talking about all these big conglomerations where lots of people get together, that is it's the biggest feeding frenzy, ability to have a feeding frenzy across the world. And where you have large groups of individuals with all the loosh and all the energy and all that double energy, because everyone's packed into these big areas, Super Bowls and others, like sardines. And there's a lot of, all sorts of strange things that happen at these places. Very definitely. There's underground areas at a lot of these places too. Right. There's also, in some of them, there's even areas that if somebody is caught doing something wrong, they can take that person and put that person into a lockup area until such time as they can get the police and get that person safely taken out and charged and whatever. They have all sorts of unusual things underground that most people don't even know about. So there's the fact that they have these underground lockup facilities and that sort of thing. What else do you think they've got?
So tell us what else goes on there, because I will, from your knowledge, from what I've heard, other survivors speak about, there's often, like at the Mormon church as well, when there's these underground facilities and there's a lot of kiddie fiddling going on there, and all sacrifices, definitely. Also heard, in fact, one of the Akim Ra was speaking about like the Britney Spears concerts, when he was speaking about cloning and stuff. Like she'll be singing on stage, and literally beneath the surfaces, her clone is being tortured and groped, and you guys know what I'm saying, right? So at the same time that she's singing out there, they're torturing one of her clones. And so it makes it's no surprise to me to hear that definitely at Ellis Park and Wanderers and those are how many sports stadiums are in South Africa? We're a great sporting nation, so there's many of them. So what, according to what you know, goes on under there?
Well, there's these booths, or I don't know what you would call it, a booth. It's like a room. So there's different types of rooms that are used for different types of energies, and different types of energies that can be pulled off. So one of the bigger places that can hold, I think it can hold, I think if the retractables are out as well, so that's where the bowl itself is, and then there's these others that you've got these retractable seats that could come out. So if the retractable seats come out, I think it can hold thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And I know the different rooms that they've got underneath the stage. And as you go on the stage, and then you turn right and you go down the stairs as you come off the stage, you come down the stairs, and then you will turn left, and then there's the rooms are all in a row along the left. And those rooms, they can be used for anything. They can be set up for anything that's necessary. You can pretty much order and request whatever you like to go into any of those rooms, particularly if you are someone who's performing on the stage, or if you are, being asked to do something specific, and maybe you are in the band, or you're in part of the crew, or you're doing something, or your management, whatever you want. Those rooms, they are, not only are they soundproof, but you can't get out of them. Once you're in them, that's it. You're not getting out anytime soon, unless the person that's got the control of that door, unless they decide you're getting out, you ain't getting out. So they do all sorts of things there. And remember, they've got cleaning crews. I was part of the cleaning crew anyway. So, it's, if you get told you're going to go and clean there, and this is what you're cleaning, there you go. There's what you need. Take everything, 4, 5, 6 of you, off you go. Clean up, 1, 2, 3, done. Bring it out. That gets taken, as I said before, it gets taken to the crocodile park, gets taken to the cheetah park, and it gets taken to the snake park. Those are the 3 main places. And that's where it goes. And you'll always find, no matter where these big events are, you'll always find there'll be some sort of crew. If you look up procurement, and you look at who's buying what and where do the checks go. Well, it's not checks anymore, is it? All the envelopes of cash that used to be in those days, they don't get paid by that. Digital, you just Bitcoin or whatever it is they pay these people nowadays. But you're always going to see, so-and-so's cheetah park, and you think, what? Why is the cheetah park being paid for what? Or why is the pig farm being paid for what? Well, the pig farm is being paid for everything that's being scooped up from catering, and whatever else has been scooped up from catering that gets put into these big blue barrels and sealed as food waste. Because once it gets to the pig farm, doesn't matter, it just gets pushed out as slop, and they get paid for getting rid of the food waste, which is, it depends on the different types of food.
So we're talking obviously about small people, children,
yes.
that obviously, and if they don't want, they can do whatever. Are we talking about international? Because usually at these places we're going to get the bands, the international singers, right? So we're talking about these guys. Are we also talking about the sports teams, like rugby players, stuff like that?
You will get some sports players. There are specific sports players that have agreed to various terms. So you will have some. Because I've been out of it for such a long time. But there are ways in which you can work out whether they have agreed.
Right.
It's quite easy to see.
Yeah.
You can actually say to them, I command you, and I command you to show yourself. And then you're going to see exactly what's there. There is a movie. There's a movie out. It's coming out. I think it might be out already. I'm not sure. But there was somebody that I knew in Europe, and they were working on the film. And it was quite a while ago. And she got hold of me and she said, I'm working on the movie called Him, H-I-M, Him. And we're having a bit of an argument and discussion about a particular scene, because we don't believe that the way that it's been written is correct. And we know that you would know. So could you we're going to read the scene to you. Is there's the special effects that are going to be in that particular way. Is that correct? And they basically read to me what it was. And I said, as far as I can hear, provided you use the right colors and you phase it in the right way so that it's phased in and then moves out, because they had it too small. They had the energy field like really, really, really small. And I said, that's not the case. That's not what I see. That's way too small. You need to expand it out. It needs to be at least, 5-6 meters around the body. And it needs to go up really high through the roof, and it has to go down through the floor. It has to go out, because that's the size of the energy field. That's the toroidal field. And then they thought, oh, okay, that's fine. And then when they redid the scene and they changed, it wasn't AI, it was like green screen and other stuff that they were doing. It looked a lot better. And she came back and she said, thank you for that advice. It looks a lot better now. And I think it'll be quite good when it's on screen. But yeah, it's called Him. I've seen some bits of it that was sent to me. And I was like, somebody's got an inside track on what's going on, because that's exactly how it happens.
Wow. I mean, wow. I mean, this is like, and we know it happens, but thank you for the detail you're giving us here, because we know this happens as well. It's not, we're not blind on this channel to these things, but it's uncanny to think. I think, there I go. Okay, I'm back. I think for me, what gets me is the organization and the slickness with which these debased, sick crimes against children and humanity are, perpetrated against. It is unbelievable, and it goes on right under your nose when everyone is there thinking they have a good time watching the game and drinking a few beers. Meanwhile, atrocities on another level are occurring, and their energy is being harvested, and we don't even see it. We don't even see it. And as you say, there must be a lot of that's happened here, because so much, I mean, your handler came in here when South Africa was we were ripe. We were this innocent nation, completely totally naive, used to nothing. And just these people came in and just ripped the cream off the top. It's just unbelievable.
But it was a purity, it was a purity of the soul of the nation and the people themselves. I mean, when I first came to South Africa, it was lovely. You could talk to anybody. You could go outside. You could shop wherever you wanted to go. And there was this level of fear that I see in South Africa now is significant. And it's just absolutely everybody. Everybody is scared for their lives. Everybody is scared for their livelihood. Everybody is protecting their children because they're worried about what's going to get their children.
Speaking of which, have you seen Trump's latest move?
No.
Pertaining to South Africa?
No, what was it?
I am mortified. He has struck a deal with Swaziland, who's our neighbor. And Swaziland has a sovereign king. Okay, that king answers to no one or nobody. So, I mean, I can't even... Anyway, paying him millions of dollars to dump America's hardened criminals in the Swaziland jail.
Wow.
Has no maximum security, nothing. That's 20 kilometers away from South Africa's border.
Borders, yeah. So guess what? You're going to be having some visitors soon.
So not only do we have the whole of Africa infiltrating our borders every day, we now have America's hardened criminals dumped by Trump for millions of dollars, exploiting the African people again. I am so sick of this. Beverly, this is evil, man. As if This continent has not seen enough trauma and enough drama and enough pain and enough suffering. We're trying to get ourselves back on our feet. And he comes 3 months ago. Come, you poor white farmers. I'm offering you refuge in the beautiful America. Come. The back of the hand, we're just dumping our hardened criminals on your doorstep. And we're just paying gullible, corruptible leaders millions of dollars so that all the criminals are now on your continent. I'm disgusted.
I must admit,
Seriously,
I didn't
if
have
I've ever
much
questioned,
he was never my favorite.
I want to tell you. Well, I got to tell you, I got serious questions about him right now, because when we're looking at what he's done, the whole Trump Epstein thing, what he's done here in Africa, he's just raped our continent yet again. I mean, if you look at John Perkins's video interviews I did with him, this has been happening since forever. American government has been sending their economic hitmen into the third world countries to turn their governments, right? And if they don't, you get cold. I mean, I'm still, it's just disgusting. I'm sorry. I can't even think that this is what's happening. Yeah.
I remember we went to, Janie, Allen and I, we had been invited to the King of Swaziland, as well as all the princesses and others. We were also with them. And they put us at a table. They should never have seated us together ever, but they did. They put us at a table where we had one of, I won't say which one, but there was
Janie Allen, by the way, guys, I want to just, hang on. I want to just tell people who Janie Allen is. Janie Allen was a journalist in South Africa in the 80s and 90s. That's when I remember her. She was one of these kick-ass journalists, and like Beverly, okay? Those two, if you see pictures of Janie Allen, Beverly and her could well be sisters. So I can imagine the two of you. And she would go for all these wild stories that no one else would touch, kind of thing. She was accused of having an affair with Eugene Blanche, okay? Now, all we all know is our politics.
She did.
Well, okay, she had an affair with Eugene Blanche, who at the time was the leader of the AWB, which was that far right-wing political party. He was a real RVB, always like the generals on his horse, and he even fell off his horse. I wish he didn't fall off his horse. Why did he fall off his horse? Terrible. I couldn't believe.
Riding his horse up to Parliament. Well, Janie and I just about peed ourselves with laughter. We just said, oh, for goodness sake, what is this man doing now? Really? But, he was a pussycat. He was a pussycat. He was this big, strong Boer man. But he just liked Mexican. He just loved Janie. And it was too funny to see. But he had other, Janie had other very, very lovely men like Stan Katz. Stan was very, very close as well. And others as well. In our group were very close to Janie. Oh dear. So back to the story about the princess. So the prince, we got sitting at this table with the princess on that side, and we were on this side, and we had a couple of other dignitaries that were boring as all hell. Anyway, the king had gone up to do his speech, and we were jabber. We just never shut up for 5 minutes, and we were chat, talking about things, and then we saw this head come down. It went poof like that. And that was the princess was so bored that she fell asleep and her head hit the table into her soup or whatever it was that was on the. Oh my God! And then Janie and I, we got the giggles. Oh my goodness! And we couldn't stop. We were just skittering and just giggling and carrying. And this princess just carried on sleeping. She carried on sleeping. And her hairpiece or whatever, this crowny thing or whatever, bonk, that nearly came off. She was so tired and so bored. And she had to be all trussed up in her finest and everything. And she just fell asleep. That was it. She was completely fast. Eventually, I said to Janie, for God's sake, we've got to get under the table. Because people are looking at us because we won't shut up. I can't stop laughing. I'm going to end up peeing myself. I'm going under the table. So I picked up the table, went underneath the table. And I said, come under the table with me, come under the table. So she came under the table. There's the two of us sitting under the table, pissing ourselves laughing because we just couldn't. So yeah, I must admit, the king, very boring, very, very boring. And that was it. And then when we managed to gap it and get out of there, I said to her, I'm not getting on that plane because we were supposed to come back to South Africa. And she said, why don't you want to get on the plane? I said, no, I'm not getting on that plane. You can get on the plane if you want. She said, no, if you're saying you're not getting on the plane, I'm following you. She says, let's go to the loo, let everybody else get on the plane, and we stay back, and then whatever happens, happens. So we went to the loo, we came out, there's this big thing happening. And she said, what's happened? They said, oh, you know that plane that just took off? Well, it took off and went straight back down again, and it's in the millie field. It's in the cornfields, making it, plowing a furrow. So I said, that's why I didn't want to get on the plane. So she said, that's fine. Well, I'm following you. Wherever you go is where I go. That's fine, Tootsie. Let's go. We'll take a car back. We've got our passports. We'll take a car back. So we got a vehicle and we went back by vehicle. But yeah, that was Janie. So cute. Such a lovely girl.
Yeah. What happened to her? What do you reckon happened to her?
Oh, I know what happened to her. They traumatized her within an inch of her life. They blew her apartment up. They did. They blew it up. And they were hoping that she was in there. But what they didn't realize is she was with me. And to be very clear, Janie and I were never lovers, ever. She was into men. So, yeah, that's it. It got blown up, but she was with me at the time. So there was no ways that she was ever going to be in that apartment. And then she decided that she was going to flee the country, and she went to America. And she had a lot of information about 4 or 5 months before she passed away, because she ended up with cancer. She had a huge expose that she was going to put forward. And on the day that she passed, actually, the SA government and a couple of other governments had sent an entire crew to her flat to go and clear her flat of all the information that they had. So I know for sure that all of Janie's stuff is now very safely under lock and key back in South Africa. So all of her information did never, ever come out. Sad. She was a very, very good investigative journalist, and she was a very, very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I thought that at her funeral, I really thought there would be more people at her funeral, but there weren't. I was very, very shocked. I thought a lot more people would come from South Africa and go to a funeral, but they didn't. So, yeah, some people they have a very short memory.
I was going to say, human beings are very fickle. And our controllers have absolutely cottoned onto this because, again, all they do is just give us one psyop after the other. I mean, the way I see it right now, this whole, for example, what's happening now, this guy that was caught at the Coldplay concert. I mean, I don't even know who he is. I really don't give a rat's backside. And with the girl, and now there's this big thing. I'm sorry, that is a deflection from what's really going on with Epstein stuff. Oh, look there, don't look here anymore.
Of course,
you look at this, you can see. Yeah, it's like, I hope that those of us who are watching this channel have cottoned onto that by now. And every time there's a ridiculous story about some guy I really never even heard about, has now been caught having a canoodle with some, and he's married. It happens all the time. Married people have affairs. I don't condone it, but I'm saying, who is he compared to what is going on in the rest of the world? But suddenly now there's this big deflection going on, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And the more we're gonna, the more we speak about the people in South Africa, and obviously, I hope you guys have started reading Bird Island, that book. It's pinned at the top of the second show. part 2 of my interview with Beverly. I'll pin it on here again. And the reason why we've kind of like a little bit delayed on that, because man, I'm reading that book with, it makes me ill. But really, it's like South African's Epstein Island, and where all these horrific things were going on. So we're going to be chatting about that as well. And of course, look what I got today.
You got it. You got it. Well done. Well done.
Yes.
Look at that. You did.
Yes. It arrived like an hour and a half before our show started. So we're going to be reading that, and you're going to be doing a book club with us for that for us as well. I'm looking forward to that. But listen, I know I'm not sure how much time you have, but I just wanted to talk about also the different Nelson Mandelas, as we were originally going to talk about. But of course, as our shows go, wow, what a wild turn. Yeah, but wow, I'm not sorry, not by a long shot. I'm fascinated by the amount of information you give on this stuff, and it's really revealing. So thank you for that. But let's talk about the different Nelson Mandelas. On the first show or second show as well, sorry guys, I don't really remember, but we did speak about Nelson Mandela, who came out of prison, was in fact not the same Nelson Mandela that went into prison. The one who came out, according to unclassified documents that I've seen, was a Zimbabwean man called Gibson Makandla, who actually, he even looks a little bit Koisan, right? If you look at that face of Mandela.
Yeah, he does.
Actually, Mandela, if you look at his pictures, and you know, he's a Xhosa, and the original landowners or land people were the Xhosa and the Koisan. So it might well be that Mandela, had Koisan blood in him as well.
Hybrid, probably hybrid, because he definitely has a lot of Koisan features.
That's probably why they took him.
Of course.
No, but if you think about it, that would have been... No, but if you think about him, he would have been selected a long time ago, but he would have then, if we look at this, now listen, this is not stuff I think about in South Africa much, but it makes a lot of, you connecting a lot of dots right now, talking about these disgusting Koisan breeding programs that they had, probably still have had. And if you're looking at the essence of the Koisan being arguably the first people, the oldest DNA on the planet, right?
From the stars. They were from
the people of the stars.
The people of the stars, they are. And when you look at some of the literature, not that there's been a lot of work done, and this is what I can't understand. It's such a rich culture. There's not much information that's written up, particularly on their language, on their belief systems. You know, there's a bit that said, that they believe strongly in the moon and they worship the moon, and they've got they believe that they come from Neptune and they come from a different type of planet, etc. But there's very, very little. There's no papers. I had a look for white papers the other day to see whether anyone has done any thesis on them or anything like that. And there's really very little. The worst bit is the petroglyphs. Nobody's bothered to go and actually look at the petroglyphs to see whether there's any resemblance to other star-being petroglyphs in the Australian outback, and particularly across the Americas, of all of the Native American First Nation peoples, because they have petroglyphs all over their country. I would have thought that would have been a great paper to write, is, what is the key differentiation between the three continents? What is the same? What does it mean? And what is the golden thread that links them all together? You think?
Isn't Michael Tellinger doing stuff on the petroglyphs now?
Michael? Oh, I haven't heard from Michael for years. I'm just trying to think. He did some, although he did sort of Adam's calendar, and he did also some of the ringing stones, the stones that ring like a bell, the round ones. And what else did he do?
Amazing.
I think he was, but I don't think he was looking at that thread that joins all of the native
everything
from the stars, because I think that's a very good.
Has anyone done that, or should we do it? Do you think we should do it?
Well, maybe we should just do it. Why not?
I'm going to say, let's do
I've got
it.
people in Australia. I've got some very good historians in Australia. They are in, I'm trying to think what the name of the area is. I think that they are one of the ones that have a lot to do with the native Aborigine people. And I know 4 or 5 tribes in America that probably would be really good. And they all, but the thing is, the American tribes all know that they're from the stars. They talk about the sky people, star people.
Yeah.
They talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that
yeah.
very easily.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure it could be quite easy to do, even just an initial abstract to say that's what we're going to be looking at, and see who's prepared to have a discussion. Interesting subject.
Very. But we will get there for sure. But right now, I want to not distract myself anymore. And let's talk about what you know about all the Nelson Mandela doppelgangers that existed over time. What is your understanding on that
The understanding
situation?
of that was that the powers that be at the time, so whoever it was that was calling the shots, they were looking at, they needed individuals that had the right look, the right feel, and certainly the right blood group, and as well as that indigenous type of feeling. You know, that when somebody was going to meet the Mandelas, all the different Mandelas, and what they did is they went and scoured the country and outside the country for those that had a similar look. And believe me, they had people at different ages. They had, at the age before he passed away in the prison, they had all the different ages all set up. They had this in line because he was always going to be tipped to be that particular person with that energy and with that level of power. So they made sure that he would only be allowed to go when they said it was fine for him to go. A bit like royalty in Europe, that they can't decide to exit the earth unless they've gone to see the Pope and the Pope gives them the blessing. Yes, you are allowed to exit. So that's why you always see royalty will end up having some form of discussion with His Holiness the Pope. And then very soon afterwards, a couple of years later, they will exit because they've been given permission that they're allowed to exit, because they get permission to marry whoever they're breeding with, because it's not marriage for love, it's a breeding, coupling, bonding, coupling, breeding program. And then also it is when you have to exit, you get permission to exit. So yeah, this is exactly what they were doing, is making sure that they had every person that they needed at the right level, that was controlled, had the right look, the right feel, would be a complete puppet and do exactly what they were told to do at the right time. And that is the chap from Zimbabwe. He was the final one that had everything. He had the right look, he had the part Koisan, he also had the right blood type, and he had been extremely well schooled. It was the best theatre that he had ever produced in his whole life, because he was actually just an actor.
Absolutely. Do you think that these guys, for example, the one that played him, are they like mind controlled? Because it's interesting that you mentioned that, because Jessie also spoke to us about Prince Harry. And according to what she's told us, Prince Harry is the real Prince Harry actually died when he was an infant because he was ill. And this one that's now playing the role of Harry has been playing that role his whole life, and it's not the real Harry. So I'm wondering if this would have been similar with this Zimbabwean guy. When did he, I mean, if Mandela, the real Mandela, died in jail, right, or in prison, this other one would have had to step in, right, and then fill those shoes.
He would have, but
So
I don't think the Mandela look-alike stepping person was groomed from childhood. I think that I know when they started looking for the people that would be in place was only in 69, 70. So he couldn't have been a child at that stage. He must have been, would have been much older in that time, 69, 70. He would have already have matured significantly, and he would have shown that he was going to look significantly like Mandela, and then they could school him to make sure, absolutely school him to make sure that he fits the bill. I can
Yeah,
guarantee you that
completely.
the schooling that they give you, these very high up echelons, when they've got a job for you to do and they need you to do something, if it's something extremely important, they will invest like hours and days and months if necessary, and whatever it takes, including things like plastic surgery, whatever it takes to get the job done. And that's what they do, and they've always done that. It's always been, you've got if that's an important target, because that's what it is, it's just a target. If that target is an important enough target, they will throw money at it, because it's always, the bottom line is, show me the money, follow the money, that'll tell you exactly where this is going. So yeah, he was definitely utilized, and he agreed to it, which is even better. He knew that this was going to be the best role that he would ever play in his whole life, but he would never get any accolades for it. He would literally become Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, being the greatest deceiver of the African people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think of the world, really. Think about that. Because he really was centered by the world. So, I mean, and not only has he deceived the world, but man, can you imagine when the African people wake up to that deception? A lot of them already know, but they're also in the minority, you know, and a lot of them know, like, that's why Winnie divorced him. I mean, I live in Koisan, so I speak to my nanny, you know, she tells me these things. She tells me what the people back was, they obviously come from the Transkei, where Mandela was from, and she's from the Transkei. So she goes on holidays, comes back and tells me what the people say. I ask, I mean, you better believe I dig. Nothing gets past the snows, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of them who have the knowledge that it wasn't him, and that he was bought out, and that he was a traitor to his people. But you know, it's like they know that, but yet they're not reacting to it. They just see it as another disappointment. You know, and that's the thing with what we must understand about African people in this country. They're so used to being suppressed, the majority of them. If we just go back to apartheid days, right? So the older generations are so used to being suppressed, and especially people in the rural areas as well. And they have a huge respect for their elders. And if you're looking at our politicians, I mean, they're all like 99 in the shade. Seriously, they should be taking blood drinks because they're just about in the ground anyway. I don't even know how they can be compos mentis in terms of being politicians, seriously. But so they have that huge respect for their elders. These were the freedom fighters. These were the people that went to jail for them. You see, that these people are revered by the African people, their leaders.
Of course, yes.
So now when their leaders are doing this, they just shrug their shoulders.
It is.
And it's sad how many of the African people...
Global disappointment, really.
Do you know how many of them...
At that level, it's a very difficult one, because most of those at that level would have known that this was going on. They definitely would have. And Leanne has just sent you a super chat, $10. Sure.
We're so happy, Leanne. Thank you, honey. It's really, I mean, it's just, but yeah, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane that the world has been so duped. And it's contrived. And as you say, it's like his whole persona, and I'm talking about Mandela himself, I'm pretty sure he would have been groomed from a very young age for this role to take place, right? For him to turn into this terrorist freedom fighter who goes to jail and becomes the saint for peace and humanity and unity between white and black in South Africa. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, South Africa has always been the prototype for the rest of the. That's why I always say we're so modern in this world. Not only do we get everything that the rest of the world gets in terms of modern things, right? But we've also been used as a prototype for the racial divide. We really have been used, for that racial divide. And the irony is, and I keep saying this as well, is that when you come and hang out with the people in South Africa, just us people hanging out together, we hanging out all the time with each other. My granddaughter's mixed race. My son is marrying, hopefully, an Indian girl.
Wow,
I mean, it's like we don't have problems. I mean, those of us who grew up on the farm, grew up with the black kids being your friends.
Yeah.
We were never, ever allowed to use the K word in our family. I'll tell you that much. If we ever called an African person the K word, that was an offense that was hiding worthy. You got a hiding for that.
Absolutely. Shambok, here we come.
Who was Mandela's handler? That would have been the Oppenheimers. Nikki, the Oppenheimers. Harry Oppenheimer, actually. Harry Oppenheimer was
it's the Rhodes family's friends. All the Rhodes family's friends, the Oppenheimers. Oh yes.
Did your handler, did he meet Mandela? Did he know Mandela? Because Mandela was in prison already when you guys would have come over. So did he have any dealings
I don't
with
think
Mandela?
He ever did. I don't think he ever did, but he was in he did have a lot to do with those very usual groups. So the Oppenheimers, the Ruperts, say the Meyburghs, the same sort of echelons, the Finkelsteins, Rothschild.
I'm very happy the Meyburghs weren't there.
No, luckily he didn't. I don't think he met your side of the Meyburghs. I don't think he met them, but there was one or two that did actually come in and help quite a lot. But I don't think it's the same one. I think they were people from Cape Town, from what I understand.
Help a lot in what way? You mean in terms of the underbelly?
Not necessarily the underbelly, but to allow some understanding of what the terrain looks like. So not because they weren't sort of the really high upper echelons. They were the ones that were sort of the next level down. So they would have been people like maybe would have been farms, but then they're ridiculous. They have like this need to know basis. So you'll have the Oppenheimers, Rhodes, Finkelsteins, Rosenbergs, those levels. The Ackermans, Rupert, those, all of them. They will know pretty much because they're pulling the strings anyway. But then you get the other levels. They're what we call the bands, the VAN. So the Van Rensburgs, Van der Merwers, and then that's where the Meyburghs would sit. They will get told pretty much just what they need to know to be able to do their job. And if they don't like it, well, then shuffle along and go and find something else. That's how it is. So the ones at the top, they always know absolutely everything.
Look, I want to just say there's lots of Meyburghs in this country, very few MEYs though, but there are a lot of them. You're going to find them up in the northern Transvaal there. They're near Joburg, Pretoria, in that area. Many of them have had farms there. I know that just from knowing that. Miss Fiji Mandela was Knights of Malta. That's what he was. He was part of the Knights of Malta, incidentally. Wow. How absolutely fascinating, Beverly. Thank you again so much. I don't know if I've got so much, but I want to leave for next shows as well. So I'm not sure if there's anything that you want to maybe have to wrap up with in terms of anything like that. Mandela, the vampires. Wow.
and other hohos. What I
We've
want
heard it
to
all
say
tonight, that's for sure.
is about the energetics, because at the moment, with the transmission of energy and the fact that the solar flares are so thick and fast, and there's so much that's happening, I would like to ask everybody is to tune into those energies. And because this channel uses sharing of the inconvenient truth needs a truth energy. It needs that truth to be pushed forward so that the truth can be clear. And if we all just send energy to that truth and to that central cosmic consciousness and say, here's some of my energy, use that to bring the truth out into light, get the light onto the truth. The second thing was, in this hand, I had written in the beginning when Chantelle and I were chatting, I wrote a number, and it was from 1 to 5. So just to have a little something nice to end on, we decided we would do a little experiment. That energy has been in the screens, it's been in the show right since the beginning. So put the number in the chat. What is this number that's on my hand? And if you get it, awesome. Well done. You're picking up energies. And I'm going to turn it around. Shanti, you already know what it is. So that is what it is. It's a 4. So if you got a 4, you picked up the 4. Well done. That's great. You're picking up energy. So use that energy now to send it out so that the truth can be illuminated. Because really, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Just give it a moment, guys. Put the number you feel is there. There's a leg again. Oh, goodness. It's a.
They don't want to.
Oh, wow. I wonder how many of you got it. 1. Okay, yeah, sorry. We got
there's
a 3 and a 1.
I'm going to have a look. 1, 2, 3, 3. Oh, someone got a 4. There's a 4 down the bottom. There's a 4 over there. There's another 4 over there. See, it's a 4. That's it, the green 4. There. That's what we wrote on the hand.
And what?
Yeah. Oh, there's quite a few. Izzy has actually got 4, 4, 4. Wow, that's very good. Oh, well, there we go. It's so small down the bottom. I needed to have the specs on. There you go. They can sit on my head now.
Lovely. Okay, well,
next Tuesday.
As you guys can probably tell, my internet's going wonky again. Yeah. Can you hear me? Is there lag?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
We will see you again
next Tuesday this time, because I'm flying on Monday.
Okay. Indeed. And Beverly and I are planning some super exciting shows as well. We're going to do shows on remote viewing, and yeah, just fun things as well. You know, God has granted us all amazing spiritual gifts. And I can say for sure, I've been blessed with having, there is absolutely nothing sinister about our spiritual gifts. It's how we use them. And I know a lot of the people that have been suffered at the hands of the system.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm still here.
Yeah, you are.
I know that we often have a very negative outlook on. Okay, cool. I feel like I'm freezing up. I see myself freezing all the time. Anyway, so we're going to be talking more about that. And guys, I'm just the flame of the north. I mean, I'm the flame of the south, right?
The south. The flame of the south, not the north. Oh, dear. Well, that was a slip, but there we go. Yes. And I think we're going to make sure that there's lots of opportunity to be able to help people, to bring your problems here, to do lots of healing. We want to do blue light healing. We've got some great. Shanti's got some amazing ideas. So wait until you see August is going to be an awaken month, and Shanti's going to be doing exactly that. She's got some fabulous stuff. So make sure you come back and join us.
Yeah, we certainly do. And Beverly will be joining me on that with lots of other things as well. So in the meantime, I want to say, start subscribing if you haven't already to Solutions with Shanti. We're going in some beautiful directions with that. But we're going to just keep that little carrot hanging in front of your nose for now. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining us. These topics get dark. Honestly, it's been 5 years that I've been interviewing survivors and people from the underbelly of this world at least 3 to 4 times a week for probably 5 years now. It never gets easier hearing these stories. I'm never less disgusted by what I hear. I'm never less, my heart breaks every time I hear about these things and how these monsters are, what they're doing to our old people, our children, our animals, our planet. And, we absolutely have to expose these inconvenient truths. So please, all we ask you is just like, share, comment, subscribe. It keeps the algorithms up. This channel is highly shadow banned, as you probably know by now. But I'm okay with that because whoever's going to see the information and who needs to see the information is going to see it. But please help us along and get the message out, and especially in this country, because we have not heard things like this in this country before. I've been shouting about it for a long time, and I've been rattling cages about things that are happening here. And I get people just awkwardly looking, and I'm going, no, you got to wake up. You got to wake up. You can't be doing, it's not even about, do you believe me about adrenochrome and stuff. It's just wake up and see what's happening in our governments. Let's just start there. And then let's just follow a few rabbit holes from there.
Follow the money.
Right?
Follow the money, because that's what it's all about.
Always follow the money. And stranger has never, ever been stranger than the things we're hearing about these cryptids and these creatures of the night and, wild. But anyway, I look forward to seeing you guys back next week, Tuesday.
See you all next week. See you all next week. And I'll be broadcasting from very, very sunny Atlanta, Georgia. So, not that I can do the accent, but that's the closest that I can get. Anyway, I'll see everybody next week.
Southern accent.
I can't do it.
Yay.
I can't do it. But maybe I'll be better by the time I come back. I'll probably be a lot better at it, but I'll be listening. I've got a good ear for accents. Maybe I can take it and replicate it at some point. But I'm not good at these things. But it'll be worth a laugh anyway, because it's a lovely accent. I think it's a great accent to have.
Well, you can't have all the gifts, hun.
I
leave
don't
some
have
of
all
us
the
to have a fun.
gifts.
Can you just leave a few of us with at least a funny accent or something?
It's not a funny accent. It's a nice accent. I'm the one that's got the funny accent because everyone looks at me and
no, but that's what I said. Can you at least, can you at least leave us to have something as well? You were first in the queue with everything, it seems.
This is it. Well, I've got to make sure that at least I get my fill of all these unusual accents. I think there's most of the accents are great, but there's one or two that I like the most. So and the southern, I think they call it
Irish, for sure, the Irish.
Southern drawl of America. That is just it's adorable. It's very sweet. I like that sort of thing.
Yeah, that is. I like the southern accent. It's very cute.
It is. It's very
lovely.
Nice.
And all the Americans are very, very cute. You all are.
Yeah, they're very cute.
And
very cute. And I've even got myself a hat because they said to me a few days ago, they said, please make sure that you bring a hat because you have got a pink head. And somebody the other day they said to me, they thought that this hair was a wig. Wow. I nearly collapsed. I thought, really? You think that this mess is a wig? No, this is my hair. It's very pink. So somebody said to me, please, if you're going to be out of the Georgia Stones, make sure that you put a hat on, because you're going to burn and frizzle up within like five minutes. You'll have a burnt head. So I thought, oh dear. So I had one of my hats in the loft because I did Western riding. So we went on the weekend up into the loft, got it out. There we go. So I've got a black hat on. So that's about as far as it goes. I will put a hat on my head because I don't want to burn off.
No, you don't want that. You definitely don't want that.
Not a good look.
Oh.
Thank you, Shanti, so much. Thank you to everyone in the chat. It's been great to be here. And thank you for having me as a guest.
Always such a pleasure. And guys, you know where to catch Beverly. I'm just going to pop her banners up again on the bottom of the screen. And we will definitely, I'm so looking forward to reading your book, The Horse Girl. And this is, if you guys haven't gotten it, from those who've read it, I've unfortunately not read it yet, but actually I'm looking forward to reading it, actually probably this coming weekend. And it's about Beverly's journey.
Get the
healing.
Tissues, get the Kleenex, get the tissues. It's quite hair raising in some parts, I must tell you. It's yeah.
And then we're going to do a book club with Beverly's book in the next couple of weeks. So watch this space and get the book, The Horse Girl by Beverli Rhodes. It's on Amazon. If you're in South Africa, guys, get it on Take A Lot.
Yeah, Take A Lot does have it. I saw it on Take A Lot. Yeah, I did. Oh my goodness! And when I come out there for the Owl House adventure, I'll put a scroll in the front for you.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you, Lisa D. There is the link for Beverly's book. As I said, I can't wait. And I look forward to, guys, what I think we're going to do with this is we're actually going to do a Zoom gathering with the book. So you can actually ask your question maybe live. If you are good, Beverly, you've got to be good to talk to my viewers, right? Yes, I'm kidding, of course. Of course, Beverly's good.
Well, what did they always
We love you, Bev. We love you.
I think it would be great to meet everybody. I think that sounds like a whole heap of fun. Yes.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Well, if you're all good, we can do that. So eat your veggies, wash your hands, go to bed early, and we're all going to do book club, okay?
Yes, good.
Okay, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone.
God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye
Bev.
for now.
And we'll see you tomorrow and Wednesday. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rest of your Monday. Okay, bye.